Okay. Good morning, everybody. Ooh, that's loud, isn't it? Okay. We have well over a quorum. We've got, how many? 4 people? 5? Quite a few on Zoom. So welcome everybody on Zoom, and thank you everyone for being here today. So I will bring the State Planning and Community Affairs Committee meeting February 8th to order. And today we're going to hear House Bill 208 presented by Chairman Chokas of the 138th. This bill will provide a state holiday that the second Wednesday of February of each year be designated to National Swearing-In Day in Georgia. The state holiday celebrates the Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps, or the ROTC. I'm sure everybody has been a part of that with their high schools. This allows young men and women to experience sample military life. So Chairman Chokas, if you would like to come forward and I guess use the podium. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. May I take my mask off? Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I bring before members of the committee House Bill 208, and I'm reading off of LC 480303. And it's under the code section for state holidays, but this does not create a state holiday. So there's no fiscal responsibility at all. So I want to get that clear. First of all, to give you a little bit of background about the bill, every year we have a certain designation for signing day for our athletic participants when they go off to school on scholarships and so forth. Well, since 1916, the JROTC, Junior ROTC, Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps, has been working, molding young men and women that to give them a taste of the armed forces. And many of them decide to go further and join the armed services. So it was brought to my attention by a high school teacher that maybe we should have the second Wednesday in February of each year designated as National Swearing-In Day in Georgia. So we can, create a celebration around young men and women choosing the armed forces right out of high school. There's so many benefits to that, continuing their education, supporting and defending our nation. So with that being said, I am open for any questions and appreciate a favorable consideration.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a comment. Thank you, Chairman Chokas, for bringing this. It's kind of ironic. My 24-year-old son is transitioning out of the Air Force today. He is actually starting in an IT position with the Department of Natural Resources, but he's under a Department of Defense Skill Bridge program where the Air Force will continue to pay his salary. He just works with them in his profession to transition out of the military. But the reason I say that is because he lettered in NJROTC, did all 4 years, and then comes home one day and says, Mom and Dad, I need y'all to come sign some papers with me. I think I want to go in the Air Force. And I can't say enough about what it means for our young men and women to pursue service in the armed services or in the military, because we know that's why we get to fight every day. But in the NJROTC, if you've never seen young people participate in that, I'm talking about a young man that would not even pick his socks up out of the floor, that would have to pack his shirt in and wear a belt every single day, or it would count off points if his master chief would see him or her in the hallway looking slouchy, and hundreds of community service hours picking up litter on the right of ways and all this. And so this is neat. I tell you, my son is an example of a young man that just really wasn't quite sure where he wanted to go, what he wanted to do, and ROTC And when he enlisted in the Air Force, he went in as at a higher ranking because he had 4 years of NJROTC. Thank you, Chairman Chokas. I didn't mean to take so much time, but it's just ironic. He's across the street now, starting his civilian life. But NJROTC was the beginning of all that.
Thank you, Representative Laurichia. I appreciate all you just said. Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just want to agree with you, Representative, because my 25-year-old son went through NJROTC and then went to University of Georgia and graduated and was commissioned in their ROTC program and is now a first lieutenant in the Air Force in Sumter, South Carolina at Shaw Air Force Base. And like your son, he too, I'm not sure he would have made it through UGA, but for ROTC program. And I'm very proud of him. He's doing very well. And so I love this idea.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Anderson, I think. Oh, no, that's Representative Singleton. I'm sorry.
That's okay. First of all, thank you for bringing this bill. Two simple questions. I do support it, by the way. I just want to make that clear right in advance. I think it's a great idea. As one of the few people in here that has actually done the swearing in myself as a former member of the Army. Two questions. One is the National Swearing In Day. It's a silly question, but is it appropriate to call it the National Swearing In Day if we're only observing it in Georgia? Should it be the Georgia Swearing In Day? I know it feels like semantics, but I'm just curious on on the language of that.
Well, what we're trying to do is get this done in other states as well.
Okay.
So that's why it's called the National Swearing In Day in Georgia. So we'd like to have a National Swearing In Day in every state, and that's our ultimate goal.
Okay. Thank you. And again, I know that was kind of a semantics question. The other one is just the date. February, again, I love the idea. Are we sure that that's not too early? So I know that a lot of those high school students that do decide that they're going to go, we tried to align, for example, when you commission active duty, there's an effort nationally to try to align that normally on the 15th of May or somewhere, give or take there, so that all of the colleges and universities try to do their swearing ins on the same day. And so I'm just curious if you think that, if there's been analysis on the date, and I'm fine with it. My gut tells me that might be a little too early in the spring semester, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, as you already know, it's for high school, number one. And number two, it falls after the signing in day or swearing in day for athletes that get scholarships to school. So that's where the timing is done. And that's, so it shouldn't interfere. And I really don't think it's too early, to be honest with you, because usually you got cutoff dates by the end of the year, if I'm not mistaken, when you're making applications to college.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Maynor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to say that I am in support of it. My freshman year of college at Howard University, I was in the Air Force ROTC there. And my father, he's deceased now, but he retired from the Navy. And after he retired, he taught JROTC at a high school in my district, Douglas High School. So I'm quite familiar with the programming and what it does to young adults. So I appreciate you bringing this bill to the forefront for us.
Thank you very much.
We have a Zoom call, Representative Jackson, and I think this will be our last one.
Good.
Can you hear
Thank you,
us?
Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
I too appreciate the bill, and for Chairman Chokas, it is actually too early. Unfortunately, to parallel the athletes is very different than the JROTC, because for the JROTC, not all their modules would have been completed by February. which is the reason why May, typically you see the JROTC signing for those who are going, because there's two different paths for those who don't know. For the JROTC students that are on the officer track, May is applicable because they have to make sure to get the enrollment, completed their ACT or SAT, because that's part of the prerequisite. For those who are on the officer track, and then for those who are on the enlisted track, have to make sure that they have all their requirements done, their physical by the MEP station, and their modules completed. And so February will be premature, which is the reason why a lot of schools do it in May to ensure that both those who are on the officer track and those who are on the enlisted track have the applicable requirements completed by that time. Early spring is too early, too premature. I like the bill. I like the concept of it, but it can't coincide with the athletes because their requirements is completely different than those who have to go into the military, either for officer or enlisted, because there are other things that must be done in order for them to be accepted to fulfill that commitment.
Okay.
Any comment,
Well,
Chairman?
I'm not familiar with the requirements in May, but May is real close to graduation. And I think that the day, that date is a little bit too late, and it's not we did not coordinate the timing with the athletes. We did it after the athletes. So this is a commitment to sign. That's all it is. It's not a swearing in, it's a signing. And so that's where the difference is. Now, there may be other requirements once they've signed, but it's not the swearing in day. So the designation should be understood.
This is intent, correct?
I'm sorry?
This is intent?
Yes, ma'am.
Intent, yes, yes. I'll,
Right. But Madam Chair, may I?
go ahead,
I have one additional question.
go ahead.
So yes, I understand that we're differentiating, but having gone through that process myself, May is not too late. Again, because the things that must be done, because the military is not like, you know, signing for sports and going to play for a college. It's very different. And so I'm trying to differentiate here and uncouple, because there's no parallel, what's required for athletes to play at the next level and for those young men and women that will be serving our country in uniform. They're completely different, right? I had to get a security background check. It took about 2 months when I went through this process a number of years ago. And I'm sure it has not changed because I'm affiliated with the schools that are in my district. I like the bill. I like the concept of it. I just believe, going to Representative Singleton point, February is too early because for signing, this is not just a ceremonial. For signing to commit, and I'm not talking about swearing in, I'm not talking about raising your right hand, giving an oath, separate thing. But when you're signing, depending on if you're going on the officer track or the enlisted track, the requirements are very different. And to have that completed by February is premature when other modules, exams, SAT, ACT, all those other things. So unless we're saying we're going to have a signing for enlisted on one day and for those who are on the officer track another day, then we'll need two separate bills. But it sounds like, Mr. Chairman, you're thinking that this bill will be able to meet the needs of those young men and women, regardless if they're on the officer track and on the enlisted track. And again, just to highlight that it would be premature to try to get this done in February, which is the reason why in Georgia, a lot of this activity happens late April, early May.
Well, I can't specifically say that what your statements are or your concerns are, but this bill or the date was brought to me by a high school teacher who has students. So, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but that's the reason for the date. It was brought to me by a high school teacher, and apparently they're trying to get the date on a national level. So that's why the picking of the date. If we can get other states, we could get Georgia done and get other states done. That's the significance of the date. Now, at a loss to the procedures of what the requirements are for the military, I'm just simply trying to recognize the students for their intent on joining the armed forces and bring some recognition to these students for making the decision to join the armed forces. So that's the intent for the bill. That's the reason for the date. It's to bring some recognition to the students. It's not something that is sanctioned or sponsored by the military. This is simply trying to bring some recognition to the students.
Thank you. Representative Singleton, and then we'll take a couple more, and thank you.
So I just want to clarify a point. I think that Representative Jackson was trying to make the point that I was concerned about too, and it's swearing in is a very specific thing. It's the oath of office for the officers. It's the oath of enlistment for the enlisted personnel. So that term may not, to the general population, may not mean, it may have flexible meaning, but it's it's the most important day of my life outside of my wedding day when I swore the oath. So swearing in to me was an important thing. And that for me was May 15th, 2004. And so I'll remember that forever. And so I think that maybe that, like what Representative Jackson's talking about, a commitment is different, right? So if we do a day of commitment, where they say that they sign a letter of intent, they can even sign their enlistment contract. And you're 100% right. The back end of that, it could be MEPS or DOD-MERB or any of the tests, the ASVAB, all that other stuff, the blood test and all that can come after the commitment. And you've already got an enlistment contract signed, but that is a different day than swearing in. And so that's the heartburn I had, that, the swearing in ceremony, that we try to align those, and that's typically much later. So maybe to iterate, I guess maybe my real problem or my concern with it is the terminology. Mm-hmm. Maybe if we just called it the Day of Commitment, National Day of Commitment, because the swearing in is a very specific event. Does my concern make sense?
Yes, it does. And maybe we should look at National Signing Day. We could do that too.
Whoa. Let's get these questions, and then maybe we can make an amendment. Okay.
That'd be great.
Thank you. Representative Minor.
Thank you.
Minor.
I was just going to say, in light of our military experts that we have in the room, one, as far as an amendment is concerned, can the date just be pushed back later? That way you can keep the title. Because I do think, based on what Representative Singleton and Representative Jackson both said, this is a special time for these young adults. So instead of changing the name, because this is something that you do want to be national, just going in line with the standards of the military and just pushing it back later would be my suggestion.
Okay, hold on. Representative Laurichia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just kept looking at lines 18, 19, and 20, where it said those who intend to join and start a career defending the nation should be acknowledged, etc. And that's all this is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you start taking the professional opinions of people who have served in the military, we can't even comprehend that, rightfully so. And so I would be more in favor of a tweak to what we call that day, because I was at my son's swearing in and I was there when he graduated basic. It's nothing like the life we live. But just reminding everybody, and Representative Jackson, brings up some good points. You could recognize them the day of the swearing in, and they may not be sworn in. No matter how many blood tests, how many tests they've taken, there are a lot of young men and women, for whatever reason, says, Mama, I can't do it. Or Daddy, I can't go through with it. And so I think February is appropriate because that's the day that the school systems, that this particular high school person, teacher says, because as you get closer to graduation, there's 5,000 banquets, or I'm just saying hundreds of banquets and recognitions for people. But would the chairman be willing, would Chairman Chokas, would you be willing to say, and I don't know what this, maybe Representative Singleton has a better idea, but National Swearing In Commitment Day, where you put the word commitment in there, because that is not a national swearing in day, because a swearing in day is a life-changing day. I can't. So what are your thoughts on something like that?
I think that's an excellent idea. I really do, because this is simply to bring some recognition to the students that are intending on joining the military. This isn't to supplant the real swearing in of the military. And the military does that on their own accord at their own time. It's like we can't have a national graduation day for high schools all on the same day. This is simply to recognize the intent of the young people interested in joining. So, I would see that as a positive. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Representative Singleton.
So I completely agree with keeping the day in February. I think the intent of the bill, 100%. I think we're all in agreement on it. I would actually lean more to, instead of pushing the day later, I'd lean much more heavily to keeping it how you have it and just changing the title of it to be more appropriate. And I want to remind everybody in the committee too, that you could have everybody in this room could sign a commitment on the exact same day and then enlist at some future day that doesn't align, but that doesn't change the significance of the commitment day. I would propose perhaps, and I like discussion. I was thinking, commit to serve day, right? National Commit to Serve Day or Commitment to Serve. Again, I know it feels like semantics, but swearing in to me is the language that I don't like in there. But I'm also open to the committee's thoughts on that.
Thank you. Representative Roberts, and then I'll entertain a motion.
Representative Singleton said exactly what I was going to say, because with swearing in still in the title, I feel like it still could confuse folks. So I was thinking Commitment to Serve Day.
Thank you. I'll entertain an amendment. Oops.
I'm sorry, can you?
To serve day or commitment to service day, either way, but does that still meet your intent and you feel comfortable with that?
Well, what I need to do is I need to get back in touch with the people that asked me to carry this and find out more detail about the title, the name of it. But I would welcome an amendment from the committee, because y'all brought up some very valid points. Swearing in is something that the branch of services do. And so I could either National Commitment to Serve or National Swearing In Commitment Day, whatever the committee sees fit.
Representative Laurichia.
I apologize, Madam Chair, and to my colleagues. And for newer members, you'll sort of figure this out as we move, but every word in every line of every bill has a definition and a place. To military members, when they hear the word swearing in, it sounds different to them than it does us as lay people, citizens, regular Joes like me. If you put the word commitment on line 29 in front of day, in legal terms and definitions, it is not a swearing in ceremony and never will be. It will never be recognized as a swearing in ceremony. But out of respect for those who understand what it means to put your hand on a Bible or raise your right hand and take an oath, I understand that. But I believe because of what this teacher is trying to do, that we add a word that will never allow it to be recognized as the day you put your hand up. It will only be recognized as your commitment to move forward doing that. And I think it has more value as a day to set aside nationally to say this is what this young person is committing to do, and that is to eventually take an oath to serve this country. I think if you change it much more than that, you devalue their commitment. I committed to serve as a state representative, but I'm not going to get shot at. Hopefully, I might. But I just think that if we change that title very much, it almost takes away from, because Representative Singleton, Representative Jackson, and others, they know what it means to be sworn in. I do not like that. But to the regular public, to the regular citizens, I think if you change the word national swearing in, take it out of there, and it sort of devalues setting aside one entire day in February to recognize. So I apologize. I'm done. I would like to offer the amendment of adding the word commitment on line 29 in front of day. If that's not the will of the committee, I'm fine with that.
Thank you, Representative Laurichia. So what I'm hearing is to change, is an amendment, Chairman Chokas, to line 3 and line 28. Take out national, to add in National Commitment Day rather than National Swearing In Day. Is that?
National Swearing In Commitment Day.
Oh, we're keeping swearing in commitment.
That's what they're committing to do, is to be sworn in to serve the country.
Okay, I'll entertain a amendment then.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, did you say remove the word swearing in?
Our Representative Maynard, I'll recognize you.
Thank you. Just because I'm agreeing with everybody. And since commitment is that most important word, what about if we put commitment in front of swearing in day? So National Commitment to Swearing In Day. That way, swearing in is not at the beginning, and it takes away the importance, so to speak, of swearing in, and it emphasizes commitment more. It's semantics, but that is my suggestion.
You're offering that as an amendment?
Yes, National Commitment to Swearing In Day.
Do I hear a second? Okay, not hearing a second. Are there any other amendments?
The amendment that I'd offered, or that I had proposed to offer and that I would offer now, would be on line 29 to add the word commitment, and would make it sound like this: the second Wednesday of February of each year is designated as National Swearing In Commitment Day.
Representative Laurichia, will you look at line 3 also?
3 is, you talking about in the
It
preamble
says
or whatever that?
It's using the same verbiage.
Yes.
National Swearing In Day.
Same thing. Yes, Madam Chair. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Hearing that amendment, do I hear a second? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. And those opposed? The ayes have it.
Nay.
Aye.
Okay, hold on.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for National Swearing In Amendment Day to lines 3 and 28. So now let's vote on the bill with committee substitute.
Motion to vote on the bill as substitute, as amended.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, I want to thank you very much. The intent of the bill is to bring recognition to the students that are making that commitment. And obviously that swearing in day itself has a different meaning. So I appreciate y'all's feedback and I appreciate the amendment. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for presenting this and supporting JROTC. I think everybody is appreciative of that, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
And we are adjourned.